wanted to ask you something real quick about just the idea of hiring offensive coaches versus defensive coaches and basically the way that we talk about it. Because over the past few years, there have been times where people would be just throwing up at the idea of hiring a defensive coordinator because, oh my God, what if we have a hotshot offensive play caller and he doesn't want to leave, or he leaves, and now we're just stuck with nobody. We should have promoted that guy, blah, 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 blah. I don't think the NFL is really buying into that anymore based on the hires that we've gotten in this cycle, especially with like the Falcons hiring Raheem Morris, Mike McDonald's about to get a job, Dan Quinn still in the running for jobs. It seems like, some of these defensive coaches are getting more of a fair shot in terms of, their ability to interview for these head coaching jobs. Do you think it matters really what side of the ball you hire, or do we get too kind of caught up in that over the past few years?
I have no empirical data to back this up, but I think there probably is a trend of teams firing an offensive guy and then hiring a defensive guy and vice versa. I'm not sure it really matters as much because, again, people are fascinated with this archetype of like a whiz kid offensive guru becoming the head coach and calling the plays. But I think as long as a guy can run a team, that's more important necessarily than what side of the ball he's on. There are great coaches to come from both sides of the ball. So I think what's more important is the person rather than their area of expertise. I know that's a super galaxy brain, very smart thing to say, but
yeah, and I think what you said before is pretty apt in terms of it's pretty hard to like just judge head coaching hires, and to a much larger degree. Like I always thought it was funny when people would get excited about like a general manager hire. Like, you like, what do you know about this person? Like, oh, this person's definitely going to be the guy. Really, what do you know about him? Like, what role did they actually have in terms of picking the other team or their previous team's players and signing free agents and the scout and all that stuff? You really are excited about Joe Blow being your new general manager, but at least with a head coach's hires, you can kind of look at like data and film just to get an idea of what they had going on that side of the ball. But in general, like and this is probably me being like burned on the Arthur Smith stuff because I thought that was going to be a good hire that worked out for them. But I just don't really know how you can have really any confidence in like either way in terms of how things are going to shape out. You kind of just got to wait and see what happens. Like I know people have come out of really voluntarily come out and said the Falcons nailed it with Raheem Morris, going from like Mike Tomlin, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, the Rams front office in general, people saying that they nailed it. Jalen Ramsey said he's the best coach in the NFL. But I don't know what's going to happen until things actually start to take form. So this is not me trying to avoid being old takes exposed again. That really had no effect on my life whatsoever. I didn't even know it happened. I still haven't seen the post itself. But I don't know. I just don't really have any need to kind of project what could possibly happen with a head coaching hire. There's so many different factors. And I think as we've seen recently, a lot of it comes by your ability to just find stable quarterback play or somewhat stable quarterback play. So if you don't have it, you're probably going to get fired. If you do have it, you're still probably going to get fired, but maybe like plus 2 years after that. That's really all I got on the head coaching stuff.